Hi, so I'm about to go on what is basically an anti-Anglian rant, because we hired them, I guess, to install new windows and doors about 3.5 or whatever it is years ago, and they sent a team. I think they just contract people, I don't think they're actual employees, and they came and installed, I think it was a half day in the afternoon and a half day in the morning the next day while I was at work, during the same time that the road traders were here and everything was starting to go awry when they were abandoning it. I phoned Anglian a couple of times the first year to sort of say that I didn't think they'd been sealed properly and things just weren't right, because they've, as you will see, I'm going to show you, they've torn chunks of windowsill and window frame out during the process of installation. And I was told at the time something like, oh, we were in a rush to get away, you know, that sort of thing. We're pressed for time, we live quite far away. I caught them right at the end of installation on the second day, because I had to come home to deal with the council and the road traders, and they were on the rush, sort of rushing out the door while I was there trying to speak to the council guy that turned up from I think it was planning or something like that department. Anyway, I got no joy out of them, and then I think the next year, like 2019 or whatever it was, I had too much to deal with and I wasn't contacting them that much, but I had already contacted them. Then 2020 I emailed them, decided the phone wasn't working, emailed them, and they went, oh, COVID, sorry, we can't come out to your house, COVID, sorry about that. And I emailed them a few times and I was like, you've not really answered my questions about what we're going to do. And they're like, well, we have answered it, really, COVID. And I was really annoyed about it. And then I contacted them again in 2021. And at that point they were like, oh, we'll start sending people out now. And then they were like, oh, you're too late. Sorry, your 2-year guarantee for installation has expired. When you see what they've done, it may not look as drastic on the video, I've noticed, but it's quite drastic looking in person. And their installation teams, I think they've sent 3 out in 2021 because I kept complaining. And every time they've come out, well, one of them was shouting at me in my own house. I was shouting back because I was getting really exasperated with them. I did apologise to him and said, I'm sorry for shouting at you, but this is just getting too much now. They've been paid 10 grand for the windows and the installation, and it's not been done to a very good standard, right? So he's saying, oh, you got what you paid for and stuff. No, I didn't. I did not pay for somebody to do this to my windows. That's when he started shouting and stuff like that. Then the next 2 teams that came out were like, oh, that's a really rough job. One of the teams attempted to try and fix stuff on the outside, but when they phoned they were told to stop and not to do anything about it. They couldn't understand why, because they said whatever was missing, like, I've never had windows installed before, right? So I don't know what was meant to be done and what wasn't meant to be done. All I know is that they're drafty. You can feel the air coming through them. There's problems on the outside and the inside. And one of the guys said there was stuff meant to be put on the outside that was never put on, and it's part of every standard installation. He attempted to do that and was told to stop, and that I would need to pay more money for whatever this was that should have been there that wasn't. Every single time they've sent somebody out, they've gone, I can't deal with this. Then when they need to send a manager has never come. They don't send anybody. I've emailed them inquiring about that again, and they just stonewall me all the time. They also were hanging on to a massive window that I was supposed to get installed after a hole was cut for it, which didn't happen. I complained about that because I kept saying I wanted to have the window in the house, and they were like, no, we'll just keep it until you install. And I was like, well, what about if that happens? It doesn't happen for years. Oh, no, it's fine. We'll just keep it here. And I started to worry about that because they've been paid for that window. I don't know where it is. I can't get an answer for anybody. So I did complain about that. And all of a sudden it appeared at my house. They sent somebody out like the next day to deliver this window that they found in the warehouse. But they can't send somebody out to deal with the fact that the installation is crap. So you will see kind of, I guess, what we're dealing with here. I have actually started to, on the inside, cover it up and seal it myself and plaster it, because there's nothing else I can do. They will not help fix it. I don't understand how them getting paid 10 grand makes them feel entitled to do whatever they want and say you got what you paid for. I just think the attitude is ridiculous. So anyway, I wouldn't hire them again. I wouldn't recommend anybody else would, because if you see what they've done, you would understand why. One of their employees also told me not to hire them for a conservatory or anything like that, because they're not very good and they're drafty and they leak. So I can only assume that it's standard across the company or whatever. I really don't know, but I'm really not happy with the installation at all, and I've resorted to DIY-ing it on the inside just to try and bring the temperature of the house up a bit, because it's so cold. In large part because of the draft coming through the doors and windows. There are obviously other issues with the house, but there are definite drafts coming through, and the installation teams admitted that they could feel the draft coming through, admitted that the job was what they called rough, and some of them even laughed at it. So what am I supposed to do? As a customer or a consumer or a client or whatever you want to call it, they don't it's like almost like they're obstructing you trying to get through the complaints process or something. You know, their teams are coming out and going, it's really crap, need to send a manager out, we can't deal with this, and then the company refuse to like go to that next step every single time. So anyway, I'll go on to the next bit so you can see what they've done and judge for yourself if you would want it done in your house. And another point, just before I do show you it, I want to reiterate that I have got somebody in the house with dementia and diabetes. I've got my own long-term health conditions, including respiratory problems, and having a drafty house is not ideal. You know, I have other problems to be dealing with, and this should not need to be one of them. So yeah, I'll let you see it. So this is more of an anti-Anglian rant here. I am absolutely disgusted with them. This has been about 3 years since they installed the windows. I don't know if you can see this, but they gouged, and ignore the state of the windowsill, it's behind a curtain waiting to get dealt with in this building site of a house of mine, but they gouged massive chunks of my windowsills out and frames. And apparently think it's acceptable to leave it in a state like this and told me you got what you paid for. They were paid about 10 grand to do these, and I can probably show you the state of not only the inside but the outside as well. So here's another one. Now, it's not just 1 or 2 windows, they did this to all of our windows. And look at the massive chunks they've taken out. Look at the spider web in there as well. But this has resulted in my house being absolutely freezing, another spider web, for now 3 years. It doesn't get above about, I don't know, like 14 degrees usually in the winter inside. And then if you look outside, I'm not actually tall enough to do this, hang on. Look at the chunks they've taken out of the outside windowsills as well, which I need to get repaired. And I've been told by some of their installation engineers, or whatever they call them, who visited, that it's a very rough job. Right, let me just try and get... And basically, I would not recommend these charlatans. I have spent 3 years complaining. They send people out who all say, oh, it's a really rough job, but you got what you paid for. No, I didn't. I did not pay for somebody to wreck my window frames and windowsills, leaving me with a freezing cold house, drafty windows, which, by the way, you can see the seals are starting to sort of go in them as well. Like the one in the hall is quite drafty, even though I have sealed it on the inside. So I would not recommend Anglian. I will never hire them again. I think their attitude is absolutely vile, saying that this is okay because I got what I paid for. There you go, people. If you hire Anglian, this is what you pay for, apparently. So don't do it. I never will again.